Friday edition of PFT Live. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, Michael, but there was a weird little story that emerged on Monday. And it was one of those, there was no video, there was no audio, there was just an account from a guy who isn't in the media who happened to be at the event where Deion Sanders was speaking 5 days earlier in Chicago. And this guy characterized Deion Sanders as saying at this event in Chicago called ProMat, a supply chain conference where he was the keynote speaker, which meant somebody wrote a big-ass check to Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
That he said during this thing that as to his son Shedeur, we're hoping for New York. And so that got injected into the bloodstream of Twitter. The usual suspects took it and ran with it. And there was no confirmation, corroboration, validation that he had even said it. There was no evidence he had said it other than the account from some guy who has a Twitter account who isn't in the media. And I'm not saying there's something magical to be in the media, but he has no skin in this game. He has no reputation on the line. He doesn't get a black mark on his permanent record if he's wrong about this because it's not what he does for a living. So it was just weird. It was just weird. And I was hoping that at some point this week, we'd hear more from Deion Sanders about this thing where he supposedly said we're hoping for New York. And we didn't even know whether it was the Giants or the Jets. You can make the argument he's hoping for the Jets with Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn there now. So here's Deion Sanders from yesterday on where he would like to see his son Shedeur Sanders be drafted.
Shedeur told me, he's talked to me intently about all the visits he's had with all the teams, so I know where his heart is. I know where he wants to go. If it's New York, it's New York. If it's Tennessee, if it's Cleveland, if it's still the Raiders, if it's New Orleans, if it's any of those teams that are seeking a quarterback, I'm happy with it, man, because I know what he's going to do to the organization. I know what he's going to do.
That was from the Skip Bayless show, which I did not know existed, and I now do. And Deion was on that, and that's what he said. And look, maybe what he said, speaking extemporaneously, off the cuff, without cameras and microphones present, although there probably was a microphone he was speaking into to amplify his voice. But in that setting where it wasn't being captured and then shared to the world, maybe he said something that was a little more candid than what he would say when he knows that his words are going to be repeated, recorded and repeated for others to hear. I don't know. I feel like there's a certain element of this where we've learned over the years that if you do push back against the NFL draft industrial complex, people end up being pissed off at you. Fans get mad. Media get mad. Nobody ever looks at it from the perspective of what's really best for this kid. Is it best for this kid to go play for a team that has ruined quarterback after quarterback? Like if you say that, you're a jerk. You're yucking the yum of everybody who loves the draft because we like this idea. It's like the Harry Potter sorting hat. We like this idea that this is the night we find out where these players are going to go. And whether or not it's in their best interest to go there, you're not allowed to talk about. That's not the issue. This is the sorting hat. The sorting hat has spoken. So anyway, I don't think they really believe that. I'd like to I mean, if it was my son, I wouldn't believe that. I'd be saying, okay,
right.
This is fine. This is not fine. This place is fine. No way in hell there. No way in hell there. I don't want to have to fly across the country to see my son. No, sorry, I don't want him going there. Like, of course you're going to have preferences, but you're conditioned to suppress them if you're part of the overall draft industrial complex.
Deion knows. Deion knows, and he started to, it's exactly what you said, Mike. He started to tell the truth a while ago. I think it was before Shedeur's last season. So before the 2024 season, he was talking about, hey, there are certain franchises where he doesn't want his son to go. And he started to dial that back because it's what you said. When you hear parents talk like that, especially celebrity parents like Deion Sanders, then that makes some organizations very uncomfortable. Now, they're telling the truth. Deion was telling the truth. There are some organizations that he shouldn't want Shedeur Sanders to go to because those franchises have earned their reputations for not being able to develop players, whether it's quarterbacks or anybody else. They just don't develop players, and you get the best when you leave those places. But he's dialed that back significantly. So I don't doubt that he said when he didn't think he was surrounded by NFL insiders, I don't doubt that he said, yeah, we're hoping for New York, Giants or Jets, because marketing-wise at least, even if the franchise is not up to the standard, up to a championship standard, marketing-wise, can you imagine? Shedeur Sanders in New York City? I mean, there are just so many things that make sense. But I don't doubt for a second that there are probably 10 franchises where, if he's being honest, he doesn't want his son to go because those franchises really won't do right by him.
See, and I thought that if anybody could pull it off, it's Deion. Because that's what Eli Manning had 21 years ago, and there's a rhythm to it. There's an NFL Halley's Comet quality to it. Every 21 years it happens. It happened in 83 with Elway. It happened in 2004 with Eli Manning. It's due to happen this year, but it's not going to happen. I thought Deion could pull it off because Eli had Archie. Archie was the one who took the public flack, who stood up and said,
yep,
I don't want Eli going to the Chargers. When the truth was, Eli didn't want to go to the Chargers because when Eli went to the Chargers to visit, he got a taste of the dysfunction that reigned at the time between A.J. Smith and Marty Schottenheimer, the GM and the head coach. And Eli couldn't tell if he was really wanted there and what the plan was, and he didn't want to be caught in this conflict, this open battle between coach and GM. So he didn't want to go there. And you have teams that fall into that category of dysfunction. And for many of them, the dysfunction flows from the top of the organization. We don't even need to say. We know. Anybody that pays attention to the NFL, even if you're a fan of the teams, yeah, my team's probably not a team that a quarterback with options would opt to go to. And it really is a hell of a system. And it's amazing how the NFL has engineered it. And I don't know whether they did it on purpose or whether they just kind of stumbled into it. They stumbled into the draft being this massive traveling road show that generates crowds bigger than can fit in any stadium. It's amazing what we'll see in Green Bay. We saw it in Detroit. We've seen it in Philly. We've seen it in Nashville. We've seen it pretty much everywhere they've taken the draft. This enormous display of public interest and involvement. The draft keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I guess we're at a point where even if, in theory, the players and their families should push back against this thing that doesn't exist in any other industry, where the companies come together and choose you, you don't choose who you're going to work for, they choose you. If Deion is thrown in the towel on this, I don't think anybody's ever fighting back against it again, Michael.
Well, I would say I wouldn't go that far because Deion doesn't have the presumptive number one player in the draft in Shedeur. I mean, Shedeur, I think people like Shedeur. He's a good quarterback, but he wasn't what Elway was. Like, Elway was going to be number one no matter who had that pick. John Elway is the guy you were looking for. So I think, and Eli Manning was as well. Like, you got to have to do it, to really just show your muscle on this. You got to have so much leverage that no matter what you say, certain 5 franchises may be offended, but the other 27 say, yeah, they're offended, but we'll take them. And I don't think Shedeur is at that level. He's good. He's a first rounder, but he's not a no doubt number one overall pick.
I'm trying to think of this at different levels and in different ways, too, because we haven't seen this really play out, where it looked like Deion was going to assert himself, both as to Travis Hunter and as to Shedeur Sanders. And he's backed off. And I don't know if he got a taste of what that blowback would be. I don't know whether or not he's backed off because he's kind of gotten the sense and maybe the message that if you talk crap about our team, we're going to talk crap about your son. You know, he was very angry about that last week. Remember that? And he came out and said, and he almost like named names and called, and he was going to call out whoever it is that he thinks is spreading stuff about his son. But it's almost like, look, maybe you can try to work the back channels here, But if you come out and start crapping on us, we're gonna find ways to crap back on you and on your son. If you are gonna play that game and tell everybody that you think we're a bad team.
And the other thing is, it's what business is Deion Sanders in? He's in the recruiting business, and this goes against what he's trying to establish at Colorado. Like so far, it couldn't have gone better. He goes from Jackson State, where he has his son and Travis Hunter at Jackson State, then goes to Colorado. The guy he recruited to Jackson State becomes a Heisman Trophy winner and is going to be a top 5 pick. And his son completes 74% of his passes and is going to be a first-round pick. So the NFL is back paying attention to Boulder, Colorado again after some down years in that program. So if you're Deion, you say, well, I don't know if I really want to upset this too much because I'm getting something out of it. I want them to look at our program, and because the more guys we get drafted, the better it is for me on the recruiting trail. So I think there may be some self-preservation in this. I don't know how long he's going to be at Colorado, but as long as he's there, doesn't make sense to make any NFL enemies. That's not good for business.
And I still think his ultimate 4D chess move was to say, and we asked him point blank, Super Bowl week, under what circumstances would you coach in the NFL? And he said, I would only coach my son. And at some level, whether he meant this or not, that will scare away the insecure coach who doesn't want to think that by signing off on Shedeur Sanders, he signed his own pink slip. And so that coach is then going to have reason to come up with, this is why we should go in a different direction. This is why we should go in a different direction. This is why we need to draft that player instead of Shedeur Sanders. He doesn't want to have Deion hovering over him for the next year or two or whenever until the owner of the team decides to put father and son together, if that would happen. But I don't know. I was rooting for, not just because I like chaos, but I have believed for years now that the system is not fair to the kid. And the kid gets sucked into
That's right.
a potentially... And we keep seeing examples of it, and we still don't make the connection, right? We see Geno Smith find a second life years after being ruined by the Jets. We see Sam Darnold go 14-3 in the regular season after being ruined by the Jets and then the Panthers. The Jets with a twist of the Panthers in there. But then when it's time to go do the sorting hat ceremony, we're so caught up in that very few will say, maybe he doesn't want to, maybe the kid should say, no, thank you. Can the hat please give me a different house than the one that was chosen?
Right.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.